the other thing.
Ooh.
Amen.
What?
Oh.
And I'm just gonna stuff about Cinderella.
Okay. Oh, I didn't see that.
That's why when I remember the title,
You come.
and I turned like, okay.
Alex, can I
Well,
ask?
here we go. Good morning, good afternoon. Good afternoon to actually every one of you present here, friends, 2D, friends 3D, and friends professors. I'm hoping you're having a good afternoon. And today I was told to present about an animator who inspired me, who inspired a generation, and I hope I did that. Now, a couple of classes back. Couple of classes back, we were talking about word animation. So today, I'm going to talk about someone. Today, I'm going to talk about the one who could have been. History lectures, we were talking about the animation in the world. We were talking about Europe. We were talking about Japan. We were talking about North America, Canada, America. But there was one part that was skipped because of me. Thank you, Professor. This is the place where I closely relate to, and I've been there a couple of times. India. So today I'm going to talk about a professor basically. So the first thing that comes to your mind, came to my mind when I was thinking about my animation stuff, I was like, I should go back to my country where it's like, I should talk about someone who they don't know. And the first person who came to my mind when I was thinking about India was Sir Ram Mohan. Sir Ram Mohan is known as the father of Indian animation. He's like, even my father knows his name. My father doesn't relate to animation in any kind of way. He knows it. And this person right here is the father of Indian animation. So I was going to study about him. I was looking out for resources. I was searching through the pages. And I found something else. I found about a person, the one who could have been. I found about a person who I thought, whose story was actually worth knowing. So I found about a person who could have been the 10th old man. Today, I'm going to talk about the 10th old man, who could have been the 10th old man. Today, I'm going to talk about CLAIR WEEKS. I introduce you to CLAIR WEEKS, the grandfather of Indian animation. I'll go through basics real quickly. So he was born in Mysore, September 14th, 1911. He was born in Mysore, and he was a son of a Methodist missionary. And they used to travel through places a lot. And like he knew Hindi before he knew English. And he was like around 17 years of age when his family actually, they decided to relocate permanently. They decided to relocate to US, California. And that's where his story began. He was 17 years of age, and a couple of years later, he got into Chinad Art Institute. You might have not heard the name, but I'm pretty sure that you know Chinad Art Institute, because Chinad Art Institute and Law of Conservatory of Music were merged in 1961 by Walt Disney and Roy Disney to form which is known as California Institute of Arts, which is CalArts. So he is a graduate of CalArts, Chinad. And yeah, this is his story. He was there for around 16 years, like after graduating from CalArts, he was at Disney for around 16 years. But spoiler alert, he was at Disney. 10th old man. 1956. It was the American Technical Corporation mission. And they were exchanging goods, they were exchanging technical goods. And FDI, the film division of India, situated in Bambi, they decided to call out for animators. They were calling for animators from all over the world. They were calling out artists. Guess who applied for CLAIR WEEKS? Guess who got the job? CLAIR WEEKS. My colleagues at the studio thought I was absolutely nuts at Disney. Walt told me, if it doesn't work out or you don't like it, you can always come back. Walt was, he was like a friend, he was like a family to his staff. And he provided actually the suppliers of the Disney studio, which they actually use, and he told CLAIR Weeks that if he's going over there, they can actually use the supplies which the real, like the studios who are already established, like Disney, use. And that's what CLAIR did. And yep, the later you know, Film Division's first cartoon in making. India's first cartoon in making. Headed by CLAIR Weeks, Mr. N.P. Gokhale, D.L. Gokhale, and Ezra Mir, the executive producer of the movie at that time. And they headed a movie. Now CLAIR Weeks had a couple of jobs. He was told to train as well as create a movie. So it was establishing, but he was just there for 18 months. And within these 18 months, he was able to train someone like Ram Mohan, as I told you, the father of Indian animation. And they produced what we know as the first Indian animation ever. The first Indian film ever released, The Banyan Deer and the King. He was there for 18 months. 1959, The Banyan Deer. The same as Sleeping Beauty. The US knew the year for Sleeping Beauty. Us Indians knew the year for our first 2D animated film. First animated film, to be honest. And now I'm just going to show you a really quick video. If I find my mouse. Yeah, here it is. I'm going to show you the first few minutes of the making of the Banyan Deer on 2X. Not Bambi. Stop it right here, I'm sorry, but yeah, this was in production. This was happening in India. Yeah. So after India, he actually went to Nepal. He was visiting South Asian countries and he was trying to teach animation on wherever he went, basically. So he went to Nepal, he went to Thailand, he went to Malaysia, to Bangladesh. And he actually had to learn a few local languages because he was hiring local artists. And he learned a few languages and he was trying to train them. After all of that, he decided to go back to US for good. And he was a teacher, he was a professor. He trained at the American Animation Institute, and he also trained at Orange Coast Community College, which was in California as well. He came back to India in his like late 60s and early 70s to teach an NID. NID, National Institute of Design, is known as the best in India, the best college in India, and his one of his students, Nina Sapnani, is still the animation head over there. And after all of that, he retired. And August 26, 1996, we lost him. August 26, 1996, he lost his battle to cancer. He was 84 years old. But yeah, I think he was happy. That's what matters. Now what I'm gonna talk, this is one of the biggest things that happens to the world. But there was this thing between 1936 and 1952. 1952 was the time when he retired from Disney. So what happened in Disney? Why is he the 10th old man? He was hired on the basis of his Chinook art portfolio, and he was hired at Disney because Disney was looking out for more and more people during Snow White. They were already short of people, and he was graduated at the same time, like 1935-36. And he was hired on the basis of his Chinook portfolio, and he had first 2 weeks, and the first 2 weeks were only light drawing sessions. These are his artwork, all of these. And yeah, they were usually, when they were done with this, they gave them, the newbies, they gave them like old production scenes and everything so that they can catch up to the speed, they can get used to the studio, what they're doing. And that, like, every one of them, they just hoped to get under one of the best out there, one of the best animators out there, so that they can get the new stuff. And that was their aim, and he did. First, he was under Grimm Network. He was a junior assistant, he was a junior animator, he was assistant to Grimm Network. And they were producing Cinderella, no, he was producing Snow White at that time, and he was working on the title character with them. And he was slowly picking up scenes, they just had to show their potential, that was the point. And that's what they did. He got his big break when he was introduced to a person named Miltka. Now, I don't know if you know about him that much, Miltka, but that was it for him. That was his big break. And Miltka and Disney at that time was working at Bambi, on Bambi. And yeah, that was his big break. I learned everything I know about feature animation from Milt. Milt was his teacher. Milt taught him. I mean, this was his big break. And after that, he got a couple of stuff happened, like 1941 cartoon animator strike. He was part of that. And in 1943, World War II. He also had to go for World War II. In 1946, he returned to Disney. He worked on Cinderella. He worked on Peter Pan. He worked on Alice in Wonderland. In Peter Pan, actually, he finally got screen credit because he was also primarily animating the Tinkerbell character. And then he worked on Snow White. He worked on Sleeping Beauty. He worked on Sleeping Beauty and Princess Aurora. And it was good. We don't have much to say. And in 1952, like, Disney finally had to say goodbye. Because apparently he was planning to go to some country to teach. Yeah. So 1952, he left Disney. And Disney was always like, he had that influential thing over other people. He had that influential impact over other people. And Disney, not just Walt Disney, Disney and the staff, everyone, they made a book called the Goodbye Book for him, and it had all the signs and everything. And despite the fame that his former colleagues get, this is an article from like one of the newsletters of Disney, and it said that despite the fame that his former colleagues, the 909, attained during the long runs at Disney, Claire doesn't regret leaving at the apex. I could have stayed on like the rest of them, he said. I don't regret it, because I've had a wonderful career beyond it. So yeah, he was not the 10th old man, but maybe he was more than that. He was the grandfather of Indian animation. He was one of the pioneers of animation all over the world. He was a teacher. And yeah, he was CLAIR WEEKS. And then Disney said goodbye. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the original printout I did from Staples this morning. of the original pictures I downloaded from the internet of the original goodbye book. So whenever you have time, make sure you get there, you read it, make sure, and yeah, try to find your artist, try to find Milkard, try to find Wooly Officer Industry. Sorry. Try to find Walt Disney. Whenever you have time, this is right here. Goodbye. And that's CLAIR WEEKS. He had this influential thing all over the world. He has been influential to me. I mean, I never knew it. Like, I'm very honored to be a part of this presentation because I never knew CLAIR WEEKS before this. This is CLAIR WEEKS, and I hope I was able to present it. I hope I was able to get that impact that he always wanted. And I would like to end with a couple of minutes with the first Indian animated film, The Banyan Deer. I hope the ad doesn't happen. It doesn't. Thank you.
Once near the holy city of Banaras, there was a farm. In the deep, deep wet forest lived a herd of deer. Their leader was the banyan deer. He was very beautiful. Stars fell from his dark eyes, gold from his skin. He was kind and just, someone you could always trust. His herd had nothing to fear. Till one day, there came a deer with news, bad news. The king and his men were coming to hunt them. The banyan deer remembered to warn his friend the branch deer and his herd.
Run, friend. Run for your life. The king and his men are on the hunt.
Boom. Okay. No, sorry, I have to end it. I'm sorry. But not Bambi again. This was CLAIR WEEKS. This was India's first animation, and I would love to show it to you some other time. But today, I'm guessing my time is over. But thank you for being a great audience. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to the story. And I hope that we have today something to remember him by. If there was any up or down, here I am making a mistake. But CLAIR WEEKS